Virgo, do you feel it? That strange energy pulsing in your chest, rising like a storm gathering on the horizon. It is not worry, it is not coincidence. This is the heartbeat of your true self, awakening after years of silence. Imagine this moment, the stillness before the storm, when the winds shift and the earth holds its breath. That is the signal the universe has been sending to you. And now, it begins. The most powerful week of the entire year for Virgo has officially arrived, a rare alignment, a sacred window where destiny bends and hidden forces move into the light. But here is the truth. What you are feeling is not random. It has been prepared for you, long before today, like the currents of feng shui guiding energy to flow at just the right time. And if you are hearing these words right now, understand this, you are not here by accident. The universe has chosen you. In the next 7 days, every decision you make, every small action, will become the key to unlock a golden door. A door that will only open once, then remain closed for the next 12 years. Will you step through it? Or will you let it shut, and continue the cycle of karmic repetition? Hold this question close to your heart, because what follows is not just prophecy. It is a map to becoming the strongest, truest version of yourself. Welcome to Mindfulness Meditation, a space where we don't just interpret the stars, but empower you to see your own light more clearly. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so we can continue bringing you more inspiring and soul-shifting messages. Now, take a deep breath. The journey into Virgo's most powerful week begins right here. 1. Virgo's 7 days of awakening. The return of the exiled soul. There comes a time in every life when the walls that once confined us begin to tremble, when the silence that held you as hostage can no longer hold. For you, Virgo, that time is now. For years you have lived as if in exile, like a king without a crown, a queen without a throne. You have known in the deepest chamber of your soul that your value was immense, your light undeniable, yet circumstances forced you to dim it. You played small when you knew you were made for greatness. You endured dismissal, misunderstanding, even ridicule, because somehow you believed it was safer to carry your treasure in silence than to risk having it stolen. But history whispers to us, Virgo, that every exile is temporary. Even the prophets of old wandered in deserts before they reached their promised lands. Even the artists whose names outlive centuries endured seasons where no one believed in their visions. And like them, you too have been preparing in the shadows, polishing the gold within, even when no one came to recognize it. This week, the veil lifts. A rare energetic cycle has arrived, one that only opens once each year, and only for a few precious days. It is as if the universe itself has written your name into its calendar, circled this moment in cosmic ink, and declared, now is the time for Virgo to awaken. For the next 7 days, the currents shift in your favor. Meetings will not be coincidences. Conversations will not be random. Even unexpected disruptions will serve as keys to unlock something long buried inside you. Think of it like a dam breaking. For years, the river of your potential was forced to wait behind barriers of fear, expectation, and doubt. You learned to live with the pressure, perhaps convincing yourself that stillness was safety. But water is not made to stay still. It was always meant to carve valleys, to nourish soil, to move mountains stone by stone. The pressure you felt was never punishment, it was power collecting, preparing for the moment when release would be inevitable. And that moment is here. Do not mistake this for luck. It is not a winning lottery ticket that fell into your hands. It is the natural consequence of every sacrifice, every moment you chose to hold your tongue rather than fight for recognition, every night you prayed for clarity instead of demanding revenge. Life was not ignoring you, it was shaping you. Pressure does not crush diamonds, it reveals them. So I ask you, Virgo, what will you do when the door opens? Will you step forward, or hesitate? This week is not simply a passage of time, it is a portal. Walk through it, and you will see how the world bends to meet you. Refuse it, and the cycle will close, not to return for another year. But something tells me you already know you cannot go back. The season of exile has ended. You will feel this shift in many forms. A phone call that surprises you. A memory that resurfaces like an ember refusing to die. A stranger whose words echo something you've long carried in silence. Each of these is a thread in the tapestry the universe is weaving, reminding you that you were never forgotten, only delayed. And here lies the greater truth. Awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already are. You are not here to live small, to apologize for your brilliance, or to be the caretaker of everyone else's comfort while your own dreams collect dust. You are here to embody the fullness of your spirit, to speak with clarity, to act with courage, to shine without hesitation. There is an urgency in my words because time matters now. 7 days. 7 days where the golden door remains open, where alignment between heaven and earth allows your hidden strength to rise. Miss it, and you may wait 12 more years before such a window opens again. Can you afford to wait that long? Can your soul endure another decade of silence? Virgo, you are not hearing this by accident. The fact that these words have reached you means the call has already begun. You are among the few chosen by timing, by destiny, by the intricate mathematics of the cosmos. You were meant to be here, in this moment, listening with your heart wide open. So take this week seriously. Notice what stirs within you. Write down the visions that visit you in the quiet hours. Say yes to the invitations that come without warning. And above all, trust yourself. For the voice rising in your chest is not fear, it is your true self demanding to be seen. When the exile ends, the return begins. And you, Virgo, are not returning as a servant, but as a sovereign. This is your 7-day awakening. This is the chapter where the world learns who you really are. 2. Virgos return to the sun. From candlelight to radiance. There are lives that burn quietly, like candles placed in forgotten corners, useful, necessary, but never allowed to blaze as they were meant to. And then there are lives born to shine like the sun, to illuminate not just one room, but entire landscapes, generations, and histories. Virgo, for far too long, you have been asked to live as a candle, to contain yourself, to give just enough light to serve others while hiding the immensity of your true radiance. This is why there has been a quiet sorrow lodged in your chest, a frustration you cannot always put into words. You know you were made for more. You feel it in the marrow of your bones. Yet time and circumstance conspire to press you into smaller shapes, to silence your voice, to reduce your brilliance into something manageable for those around you. Like a sun forced into wax, you lived, yes, but you lived with edges that burned away slowly, painfully, leaving you less than what you truly are. But here is the great paradox, Virgo. Exile is not wasted time. Limitation is not meaningless. The years you spent confined have been your apprenticeship. Just as the prophets wandered deserts before finding the promised land, and just as great inventors endured failure before birthing revolutions, so too have your quiet years prepared you for the threshold you now stand upon. The pain of being forced into candlelight has made your sun all the more determined to rise. This week, the universe shifts in your favor. A rare alignment, appearing only once a year, opens a corridor of possibility for you. 7 days where the ordinary rules bend, where buried potential begins to stir, and where life itself becomes a stage set for your reemergence. These 7 days are not a gift, they are an answer. An answer to the prayers you whispered when no one listened. An answer to the questions you carried through sleepless nights. An answer to the ache of knowing your worth was unseen. Think of it like history's great turning points. Rome was not built in a day, but in a single day Caesar crossed the Rubicon and destiny was sealed. Generations toiled under tyranny, but in one midnight hour a bell rang out in Philadelphia, and freedom began to breathe. Change rarely announces itself with trumpets. It arrives like a whisper at first, and then suddenly you realize nothing will ever be the same again. That is where you stand now, Virgo, on the cusp of your own Rubicon, your own midnight bell. And yet, I know the hesitation in your heart. Years of playing small make the sun doubt its own fire. You wonder if you are ready, if perhaps it would be safer to remain as a candle. Predictable, familiar, unthreatening. But safety is not the same as life. To remain as you are would be to betray the very reason you were born. The universe did not create you to flicker quietly. It created you to blaze. So what does this awakening look like? It may not arrive with fireworks. It may appear instead as a chance meeting that shifts the way you see yourself, as a long-buried truth that finally demands to be spoken, as an invitation that seems small but opens into something vast. Pay attention to the unexpected this week. Life will drop keys at your feet. Your task is only to pick them up. Here is what I believe. The candle years were not punishment. They were proof. Proof that even when pressed into smaller shapes, your light never went out. Proof that no matter how others tried to limit you, you continued to burn. And if you could survive as a candle, imagine what you will do now that the wax has melted away. My perspective, shaped not only by astrology but by psychology, is that Virgo often internalizes the weight of others' expectations. You absorb their criticisms as though they were truths, their doubts as though they were facts. But here lies the moment of reversal. Their perception does not define your essence. A candle may imitate the sun in miniature, but when the true sun rises, no one mistakes it for anything less than what it is. So, Virgo, this is your summons. For the next 7 days, dare to act as though you are already the sun. Speak with the authority you've hidden. Create without apology. Love without shrinking. Share your wisdom not as a servant offering scraps, but as a sovereign pouring from abundance. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. The question that remains is not whether you are worthy, but whether you will say yes. Yes to the timing. Yes to the calling. Yes to the version of yourself that has always been waiting beyond the wax. The candle years are over. The sun within you rises. And when it does, Virgo, you will not only see the world differently, the world will finally see you. 3. Virgo's appointed hour. The signs within the stars. There are moments in life when the sky feels closer than usual, when the constellations seem to lean in as though they are whispering secrets meant only for you. Virgo, this is one of those moments. You were not born to drift aimlessly through time, nor to live quietly in the shadow of other people's expectations. You were born under a constellation that demands clarity, truth, and sacred purpose. And now, as the wheel of the heavens turns, the days ahead have been marked as yours, a season of awakening that will not wait for hesitation. For too long, you have been the steady hands behind the curtain, the quiet presence that makes everything work while others take the stage. You have carried responsibilities without recognition, absorbed criticism as if it were oxygen, and shrunk your brilliance so that others would not feel threatened by your light. But the universe has grown restless with your restraint. It is time for the true Virgo to rise, not as a servant of everyone else's story, but as the author of your own. If you were born between August 23rd and September 2nd, your time has come to prove what you have always known deep inside, that your value does not lie in whispers or hidden corners, but in the undeniable evidence of your work, your presence, your being. Life will hand you opportunities this week, practical, tangible moments that demand you step forward and demonstrate your worth. It may be through your career, your service, or even a simple choice where you must finally say, "This is who I am, and I no longer need your permission to shine." Like Galileo pointing his telescope to the heavens, you will no longer rely on theories. You will reveal the truth with proof so clear it cannot be denied. For those born between September 3rd and September 12th, the focus shifts from achievement to connection. Your soul is weary of relationships where you are tolerated but not celebrated. This week, life will press you to re-examine the people around you, not through suspicion, but through truth. You will discover who truly sees you, who understands the essence of your spirit, and who merely benefits from your silence. Think of the great friendships of history, like the letters exchanged between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. Years of honesty, disagreement, and recognition that forged a bond beyond politics. You deserve nothing less. The days ahead invite you to step out of relationships that drain you and step into ones that affirm you. Love, friendship, partnership, this is where your truth must be honored. And for those born between September 13th and September 22nd, destiny now calls you toward clarity in your creative and professional path. You have often lived with one foot in practicality and the other in quiet longing for more. This week tears down the fog. Suddenly, you will see with sharp eyes where your gifts belong. The painter finally recognizes the canvas that has been waiting. The teacher discovers the voice that needs to be heard. The leader realizes the world has been waiting for their courage. Like Michelangelo chipping away at marble until David emerged, you will find the masterpiece hidden inside the block of stone. The clarity is not random, it is the answer to years of preparation. But hear me clearly, Virgo. Whether you were born in August or September, the thread is the same. You have lived as though your light were conditional. You dimmed yourself for the sake of harmony, like a candle giving enough glow to guide others but never daring to blaze like the sun. This is why disappointment has stalked you. Not because you lacked ability, but because you were forced to live smaller than your true size. And yet, the candle years were not wasted. They taught you endurance. They refined your humility. They made you deeply human, able to understand the quiet pain of others in a way only you can. But now, the wax has melted. The wick has burned down. The sun inside you refuses to stay hidden. The days ahead are not about learning who you are, they are about remembering. In my own reflection, as both a student of psychology and a lover of the stars, I see this as the eternal Virgo dilemma, the struggle between service and sovereignty, between the desire to help and the need to stand tall. But life is teaching you that you can no longer choose one at the cost of the other. True service flows from power, not depletion. You are not here to be drained, you are here to illuminate. So take these days with reverence. Watch for the signs that appear in conversations, in dreams, in sudden opportunities that feel strangely fated. They are not accidents. They are coordinates written in your soul's chart, guiding you to the moment where the exile ends and the return begins. Virgo, your appointed hour is here. Whether through proving your worth, claiming authentic relationships, or finding clarity in your work, the message is the same. The universe is done with your hesitation. The door has opened. Step through it as the sun you were always meant to be. 4. Virgo's radiant awakening. The gift the world has been waiting for. There comes a time in every soul's journey when the quiet is shattered by a pulse too strong to ignore. Virgo, that pulse is beating in you now. For years, you may have felt invisible, as though your light was too soft, too subtle to be seen in a world that celebrates the loudest voices. But destiny is not measured by volume. Destiny is measured by the ripples of truth, and your truth has reached its moment to rise. You see, life has a way of circling back. The doors that once slammed shut, the dreams that were shelved for later, the moments when you whisper to yourself, maybe my time has passed, they were not endings. They were rehearsals. And now, like a curtain lifting on a stage long prepared, those doors creak open once more. Only this time, you step forward not as the uncertain soul you once were, but as someone refined by years of silence, trial, and unseen labor. History teaches us this. Some of the world's most profound figures were dismissed before they were honored. Galileo stared at the stars long before anyone believed his truths. Vincent van Gogh painted in obscurity, his brilliance seen only after his time. The world often overlooks what it is not yet ready to hold. And perhaps that has been your story, Virgo. Overlooked, underestimated, even set aside. But that is about to change. The very people who once ignored your presence will find themselves drawn to you now, compelled by the very light they once turned away from. And it is not just people. Opportunities that seemed lost, like trains you thought had departed forever, circle back on new tracks, clearer, stronger, more aligned with who you have become. Ideas that once felt half-formed now return to you with the sharpness of crystal, ready to be shaped into reality. This is not coincidence. This is the rhythm of the universe, moving in cycles of 12 years, cycles of karma and return. You are standing at the doorway of one such cycle. But with great openings come profound choices. This week, you will feel the test. Not a test from others, but from within. You will be asked, do I keep hiding, or do I dare to shine without apology? This question is no small thing, for Virgo's nature has long been associated with humility, with service, with tending the quiet details others overlook. And yet, this humility has sometimes turned into self-erasure, a dimming of the very light that was meant to guide. The truth is simple and powerful. Your light is not a request. It is not something you must seek permission to share. It was never meant to be rationed or concealed. Your light is a gift, given not for you alone, but for the world. Every time you choose to let it radiate, you participate in the healing of those around you. Every time you withhold it, the world loses something irreplaceable. Think of the sun. Does it ask permission before it rises? Does it apologize for the brilliance that both warms and exposes? No. The sun simply is. And Virgo, you are that sun in the garden of others' emotions. Yes, at times they may have drawn from you without gratitude, consuming your energy until you felt drained. But this week marks a reversal. The world does not merely accept your light, it hungers for it. It is your mission, not your pride. Your radiance is not arrogance, it is alignment with divine design. I have seen it in countless lives, and perhaps you have too. Those who hide their talents live with quiet sorrow, while those who embrace their calling ignite movements greater than themselves. And though you may doubt, though your inner critic whispers that it is safer to stay small, the universe itself is urging you otherwise. The trials you face in the coming days are not punishments, they are invitations. Each challenge asks you, will you dim again, or will you blaze? And with every choice to shine, you will find confirmation, not rejection, flowing back at you. This is the paradox of destiny. When you finally dare to step into the fullness of who you are, the world rises to meet you. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. So, Virgo, this is your threshold. The energies of this week are not here to toy with you, they are here to free you. You are being called into the role you were always meant to play, the quiet force that becomes undeniable, the steady flame that transforms into a beacon. Your life until now has been the soil. The awakening you feel now is the bloom. And as you step forward, remember, this is not about pride. It is not about proving anyone wrong. It is about fulfilling the mission for which you were placed here. The universe chose your light, not to be hidden, but to be given. And the moment has arrived to give it fully. So breathe deeply. Stand tall. And when the question comes, as it will, do I hide, or do I shine? You already know the answer. 5. Virgo's inner triumph. The moment you see yourself clearly. There comes a turning point in every life when the mirrors of the world shatter, and you are left with the only reflection that ever truly mattered, your own. Virgo, you have spent years carrying the weight of others' expectations, measuring your worth by how much you were needed, how much you were praised, or how little you disrupted the balance. But the truth that rises now is undeniable. Your greatness was never meant to be borrowed from the eyes of others. It has always lived within you, waiting for you to see it for yourself. For too long, your story may have been written in whispers, serving quietly, giving without asking, shining softly so others would not feel threatened by your brilliance. That humility, noble as it seemed, became a mask. And masks are heavy things to wear for a lifetime. But this season, the mask cracks. The strange energy you feel pulsing in your chest is the sound of your soul insisting on being seen, not as others define you, but as you truly are. Think of the great figures of history who dared to look within first, before seeking validation. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Those words echo the very essence of your transformation. You are learning to withdraw your consent from every opinion, every judgment, every comparison that once dictated your self-worth. The eyes that matter now are your own. This shift is not merely internal, it ripples outward, touching every relationship and every opportunity around you. When you begin to carry yourself as someone who no longer begs for permission to exist, the world rearranges itself. Some people will feel inspired by your light, drawn to your authenticity as though it were the fire they needed to warm their own frozen hopes. Others, however, may feel unsettled. They are accustomed to the Virgo who made herself small, the Virgo who bent to accommodate, the Virgo who dimmed so others could glow brighter. And now, faced with the version of you that stands tall and radiant, they do not know where they belong. This is not your burden. This is your gift. The difference between those who celebrate your growth and those who resist it will reveal everything you need to know about who is worthy of walking beside you. Life is not meant to be lived in crowded rooms full of people who only love the version of you that serves them. Life is meant to be lived in the company of those who rejoice when you finally serve yourself. And here lies the miracle. When you release the need for outside approval, the dreams you once tucked away in dusty corners begin to breathe again. Those ideas that felt too big, too bold, too impossible suddenly stand before you with new clarity. You realize they were never out of reach. You were simply waiting for the moment you could believe in them as much as you believed in others. That moment is now. Psychologists often speak of self-actualization as the pinnacle of human growth. Maslow described it as the point where you no longer live for survival or approval but for purpose. This is exactly where you are being called. The purpose of Virgo is not to remain hidden, polishing the details in silence. The purpose of Virgo is to build, to heal, to illuminate by example. Your meticulous nature, your ability to see patterns where others see chaos, your quiet strength, these are not accidents. They are instruments designed for a higher mission. But here is the paradox. Only when you stop asking, "Am I enough?" will you finally realize you have always been more than enough. Only when you stop measuring yourself against the applause or the silence of others will you discover that your worth is beyond measurement. And once you hold that truth inside, your life cannot help but change. The world responds differently to those who know who they are. Doors open. Not because they were locked before, but because your hand never dared to turn the handle. Now, with clarity burning in your chest, you find the courage to push them open. Dreams once postponed become possible. Goals once shelved begin to take shape. Not because the universe suddenly decided you were ready, but because you finally decided it yourself. Virgo, this is your inner triumph. The transformation unfolding within you is not about becoming someone new. It is about finally embracing the person you have always been. The world may call it change, but you will know it as homecoming. So let the old measures fall away. Let the voices that do not understand grow silent. Let the weight of masks and borrowed judgments slip from your shoulders. Stand in your light without apology. For the eyes you needed to open have always been your own. And now that they are open, nothing, no person, no circumstance, no fear, can ever close them again. This is your awakening. This is your power. And this, Virgo, is the gift you were always meant to give the world. The fullness of you, unmeasured, unashamed, and finally free. Virgo, as we arrive at the end of this message, let me remind you of one simple but profound truth. You will no longer be confined to the smaller version of yourself. The days of dimming your light, of shrinking to fit into spaces that never honored your soul, are over. What lies before you is the moment of release, the point where the circle finally closes, and you step forward as the truest, strongest, most radiant version of who you are meant to be. This is not just another week on the calendar. This is the most powerful week of the year, and the rare event unfolding is your awakening. You are ready to shine unapologetically. These words are not empty promises. They are echoes of a truth that has been building within you for years, waiting for this precise moment to break free. Every disappointment, every time you felt unseen or undervalued, has not been wasted. Those experiences were not punishments, they were preparation. They shaped your resilience, sharpened your clarity, and carved out the strength you now carry in your spirit. What once felt like pain will now be remembered as the foundation of your transformation. And here is the turning point. You will stop being a supporting role in other people's stories. You will claim the lead in your own. You will recognize that your voice matters, your vision is valid, and your presence is not a burden but a gift. The world has been waiting for your light, Virgo, and now it is finally time to let it pour out without hesitation. Yes, there may be moments of fear, but that fear is not a warning. It is proof you are expanding. Step through this cosmic doorway. Step into the role the universe carved just for you. You are ready. You are chosen. You are magnificent. If this message resonates with your soul, do not let it fade into the background. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your journey in the comments. Let your words touch another Virgo who needs to know they are not alone. Together, we are not just individuals awakening, we are a collective rising. This rare event has begun, and so has your transformation. Virgo, shine now. The world is waiting.